It's my honor tonight to introduce you to a family that's near and dear to me. We won't talk about how long we've known each other because we start showing our age or telling our age then. But let's just say we both, me and Daniel, both a little grayer than we were a couple years back. But um, as you know, our vacation Bible school back in July, our offering that week was taken up for the Butterfly Wings Jewell Foundation, and I've asked the Efirds, specifically Cheyenne, to come tonight and kind of tell a little bit about the story, tell about what's going on in their life, and just be touched by the grace that the Lord's give them for this situation, and just what the Lord's touched upon them to have do. And so I'm gonna give it over to Cheyenne. Cheyenne's got a presentation, and once she gets done, she's gonna turn it back over to me, and we're gonna present the offering from the Bible school. So Chey, all yours.
Thank y'all so much for having me. So we founded the Butterfly Wings Jewell Foundation in May of 2024, May 22nd of 2024. I'm going to start just by briefly introducing our story. So our story really starts October 7th of 2015, which is not that close. It was over 10 years ago now. But at the beginning of a really hard season, after a really hard tragedy, this angel came to my parents and told them that they were going to have this beautiful little girl and she was going to do great things for God. And then fast forward to July 26th of 2019, my little sister Jill was born, and we got to have her for almost 5 years. This beautiful, bright, fiery light, always giving people a smile, sometimes giving people side eyes too, but she loved everyone so deeply, so fully. She was such a bright light. Even below the age of 5, she was such a bright light for God, always talking about what God was doing for her, even though some people would think she wouldn't understand the gospel. She was sharing it all the time. And then on May 22nd, we had a tragedy strike our family, and she passed away in a tragic accident. And while we were there in the hospital in that day, we just were overcome by grief, but we were held up by the strength of God. And there just kept, the entire time I was there at the hospital, I kept being reminded of one specific verse. And that verse was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for your well-being, not for disaster, to give you future and a hope. What this was a disaster to us. This was the loss of such a bright soul and such a bright light to us. It was something that we will never not feel. We will always feel her absence, but we knew in the moment and we know every day that this is part of a greater plan. When we may not always understand. And we knew then on May 22nd, and we know every day, that there's some reason for it. So we were dwelling in that. We were trying to figure out what could be the possible reason that God wanted to take this beautiful angel back to heaven. And what was the reason? What can we do to turn this tragedy into a glowing light again? And so we thought more on it, and we had people suggesting to us to create a scholarship, something like that, so that we could help give people found money for different things. But we wanted to do something that shed light on my sister. And both of us have a hearing disability that we have had since birth. And we know what it's like to be a family with those hearing needs. So that's what we did. We wanted to start a foundation that helped families like ours. Because hearing aids are ridiculously expensive, and having 2 kids with those needs, we knew firsthand that those can be such a financial burden and a setback. And we also wanted to make sure that we were helping kids hear the gospel, a way that we could help them to still get to know God and know the glory of God in all that we could do. And what better way to help them hear the gospel than to help them hear? So that's what we do as a foundation. We help to give kids hearing aids and access to hearing. And it's a lot more than just that. We do a lot with that. We get to help the families and lots of stuff. And so on the next 2 slides, I'm going to talk about some of the people we've already helped and some of the ways we've done that. So our first child that we helped was Della at the age of 9. We were able to help her get her first set of hearing aids. She was diagnosed at the age of 8, and we were able to help her go through that process, both financially and also helping them to know what that looks like for them. And then we have Carter, 18. He was getting a second set of hearing aids because he's about to move off to college, going to Western Carolina University. Same here. I also go there. Go Cats. But we wanted to help him to get another set of hearing aids because that's such an expensive burden, but also to go to college, and there's such a need for education. Being able to learn and use this as a step, like using this as a stepping stool to be able to get the information that you need in education. This transfers over to our other set of kids we have. Olivia, 15. She was diagnosed here recently, and we've been able to help them not only financially cover the cost, but she's our best example of helping them with the mental side of it as well, helping them to balance this, see what life looks like for them, knowing that it can be different to not just can be different to go through things. Like she's a cheerleader, for example, and that looks different for her now. Different routines, different ways of doing things, different ways of processing her sound. But we were able to help them know what it's like, go through the process with them. And that's what we do. We don't just want to give people money, we want to help them. We share the gospel with them, we walk the process with them. And our fourth and fifth child, Kai and Alyssa. We don't have photos of them because they asked us not to, but we do get to help them in a different way. Instead of giving them the hearing devices themselves, we're able to give them these little devices, as you can see pictured here, called a Roger pen. And these are just able to go direct to their hearing aids, and they help them with a lot of safety things. Our fourth child, Kai, he was at an amusement park, and he was too far away from his family and couldn't hear them. And they noticed immediately that they needed a way to help with that, even with his hearing aids. And so they got one of these Roger pens, and we were able to help fund that. And now, when they go so far away, he can hear his parents through that so that he's not too far away, and he has that safety feature. So it's not just hearing aids we get to help cover. We get to help anything that sets them back financially, but is able to help them hear. And we do this solely through the responses of the churches in our community, the sponsors that we have, the donors that we have, all of these things. We are solely donation-based nonprofit organization. So we do this through different things, Cash App, Venmo, checks, but mainly we rely on our sponsorships and donations. That's all we really have for finances, but we're able to do these wonderful things with that. We're able to share how God took something that to everyone else would have been such a gut-wrenching disaster for all of us, but we were able to turn it into such a beautiful light and a positive situation, getting to always share the love that Jewel gave us and the love that God gives us to everyone else. And so we always ask that you just prayer for us, prayer for the decisions that we get to make, prayer that people see us and are able to come to us, and prayer that God uses us. And just awareness too, because a lot of people don't know that it's fairly common for children to be born with a hearing disability, and it's fairly common for finances to be a big setback without them. So that's just what we ask, and we are just so grateful. I'm so grateful to have been asked to come out tonight. Thank you guys so much for having us. And there's also, the next page, ways you can stay in touch with us. We have Facebook and Instagram at Butterfly Wings Jewell Foundation, or Butterfly Wings Jewell. And we also have a website, the G220 Ministries website, under the Butterfly Wings tab. This is just ways to keep in contact with us, see what we have going on. We always have things coming up on the horizon. We just had our big tournament that turned out a little bit different if you guys are following us on there. We normally have a big softball tournament for her birthday. Kind of got rained out. We were able to just have the birthday part this year and do all the different things, and we'll be able to do that again and just have the tournament part and the softball part with some inflatables and concessions and all that fun stuff on October 10th. And we have other things that we do. We partner with Spring Lake Farms for a haunted house that at the end of it is kind of like a ministry situation where at the very end they do a little gospel celebration and they share the word with people. So we have a ton of fun things that we do, partnerships, but to stay in touch with us and to see all the kids we're helping, you can see there. I'll let you in on a little sneak peek. We are currently helping another kid financially, and we're helping 2 other families with the mental side of things. So like I said, it's not just finances we help out with. We want to help walk through and share that word and share the love of God with everyone we can. So thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you so much for using our foundation for your Bible school, and I'm just so grateful to have been here.
All right, don't go nowhere yet. Jamie's going to cue up a video. So in years past, for our Bible school, we usually pit the boys against the girls, and whichever side wins with the most offering, the other person gets a little bit of a quote-unquote punishment. So I'm going to show you our